Hey everyone, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how to remove the labeling off of the cases on the Casio AE 1200. Now the watch I'm going to be working on today is the stainless steel Casio AE line. This is the one that comes with the stainless steel bracelet, the traditional resin case, and this bright silver color. So the Casio AE line comes in AE 1200s of different colors and also AE 1300s of different colors. For example, we have another AE 1200 here in green. You can get an AE 1200 in black. I believe you can even get them in red or blue. So many different colors. In my opinion, removing the lettering as you can see here, the World Time and Illuminator, the best results I've seen are on the stainless steel model, because when it comes to removing the lettering, there's always just a little bit of rub marks that you see on the case. The silver hides those rub marks really, really well, very hard to notice, but the rub marks are very easy to see on the colored cases. What ends up happening is they become whitish kind of blemishes that under very bright direct sunlight can easily be distinguished from the rest of the case that was not touched at all. So just my opinion, some of you, it may not bother you that much, so you might want to go for it. You might also have better technique than me. I've only done this on about 40 watches, so obviously the more you do, the better you get. But for today, I'm going to be showing you how to do it on a Casio World Time AE 1200. Now, some materials you're going to be needing for this are a clean microfiber towel, these Q-tips. Now, you can use standard Q-tips that you have at home. I prefer to use these pointed precision Q-tips that you can search for on eBay. I could not find the brand name for these, and the seller no longer sells these. But if you look on Amazon and just search for precision Q-tips or pointed Q-tips, I'm sure you're going to find them. And then, of course, you're going to be needing your Goo Gone. Goo Gone, I believe, comes in several different types, so look for the one that says Goo and Adhesive Remover. Okay, lastly, I recommend that you watch all the way through the end of this video, because even towards the end, I have some extra tips that might be useful for you to use even at the beginning of your project. This really isn't difficult. I think anybody can do it, but just remember that technique, I think, is more important than the type of chemical you're using. So you might have mixed results at the beginning, but hey, these watches are super cheap. Some of them are even as cheap as 15 bucks. So if you mess up, you know, not that expensive to go out and get another one and practice, and you'll probably do much better on your second time. But again, any other questions, feel free to put them down below. But let's go ahead and get started. Actually, let's get some fresh tape into here and redo this. Let's make it a little bit tighter so I can see that lettering clearly. So just like that, and maybe one more piece here on the bottom. There we go. Okay, now with Goo Gone, the way this works best, again, only in my experience, I've done about maybe 40 watches with the Goo Gone. So if you have more experience and you have some better tips, please put them down below. I would love to learn from you guys as well. So this is the Goo Gone here. What I like to do is I just put a little bit into the cap. Okay, not too much. There we go. Set that bottle carefully to the side where you won't knock it over. We're going to get our two Q-tips here. And I like to saturate the lettering first, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put this Q-tip in. You can see the Goo Gone actually saturate the whole tip. And then I will just lightly coat the lettering with Goo Gone. Okay, and I'm not going to wipe it off. Then I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing to this side. Okay, I like to let that sit for maybe another 5 minutes. For me, in my experience, the more you let it sit, the less rubbing you have to do. And the less rubbing you have to do means that you preserve this painted silver finish a little bit better. As I mentioned, the silver case is really the best one to work with, because if you start doing that on like a darker case, like this, for example, this is the AE 1300-1 AV. What ends up happening is you have these areas here. So while we're waiting for that case on the bottom, let me show you this one. So this one has been rubbed off. Now, I don't know how clear I can make this for you, but okay, perfect. You see here I've rubbed off the lettering, and you can see here right where I rubbed off, it's a little bit lighter, and then the part of the case where I did not rub is a little bit darker. Now, you have to get this in the right light to really notice, but me, I'm a real stickler for detail, so I don't like to leave any blemishes as much as I can. The silver, you don't have that problem because the light streak mark that you see here, the light colored streak mark, kind of blends in with the silver case already because silver is also a light color. So just my opinion. Again, you might have a much better technique and you're able to get that lettering off without showing any blemishes. But that's just for me. So we'll let this sit and I'll chime back in with you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. What we're going to do is take that same Q-tip. This one on the top is brand new. So this is my old one here. I'm going to resaturate it, and I'm going to focus just here on the world time. You're going to make nice, even strokes, apply a decent amount of pressure, and what you'll notice is as you first start rubbing, it's going to feel very smooth. And then as that Goo Gone starts to really wear away at the print, it's going to start feeling a little bit grittier on the Q-tip. Once it starts feeling gritty, that's how you know you're at the tail end and you're almost done there. Okay, this can take a while. It can take anywhere from a couple minutes. It can take even 5 or 10 minutes. It really depends on your pressure. So I'm going to put nice even pressure, and let's really zoom in here. I'm going to do the world time live on the camera, and then for the illuminator, I'm going to go ahead and just pause so that way I can save on your time here. So let's get this lettering off. Okay, once you feel like this is getting dry, go ahead and resaturate your Q-tip. Okay, you see that black part of the case right there on the top? Try to stay away from that as much as you can, because again, the black shows those blemishes of where you're rubbing. I can feel it's getting a little bit grittier. Okay, so that's only about 1 minute. You can see it's already starting to rub off there. Okay. Okay, once you feel like you've got all the lettering off, go ahead and flip the Q-tip over, take the clean side, saturate that as well in the Goo Gone. Okay. Take your microfiber towel, gently wipe off the area you just rubbed off. Just have a nice clean area. Take that saturated clean Q-tip end and then go ahead and go over it one more time. Sometimes you can turn the case to the up, down, left, and right and just check for any residual marks. I can see that here a little bit. Okay, once you rub off, go ahead and clean it off again, and we'll check that off. So I still have a little bit more right here at the tip. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, now if we look at this, you can see how well that silver kind of hides the rub marks, right? It's almost as if we didn't do anything at all, and this is how it came from the factory. So that to me looks good. Go ahead and repeat here for the bottom where it says illuminator as well. Now before I pause here and do this off camera, this is another masking that I just use for different projects. This is not native to this watch. But some people have said, hey, how about removing the lettering from inside the masking? And so I've obviously done that here. I've left the word Casio, but I've removed the WR100, the 5-alarm. And this one, I spent a good amount of time. I tried to be careful, but if you look here at the top, you'll see here again where I rubbed, it's a little bit different of a finish than over here where I didn't rub. So, again, this is just because this is black. Black shows blemishes a lot easier. So, if you're asking me, do I prefer to remove the lettering off the masking? I would rather not, because I think it ruins the uniform appearance. For me, I also kind of like the lettering and the labels. It makes it look a little bit more retro. But again, if you are gentle enough, or maybe you let the Goo Gone sit long enough, maybe your results might be better than mine. But just something to be aware of. All right, guys, I'm going to remove the illuminator off camera, and I'll check back in with you guys. Okay, so as you can see here, we were able to get that lettering off on the top and the bottom. Now it looks pretty good. Now I do want to say one other technique for the Q-tip with the Goo Gone is as you're working the Q-tip in, it's normal to kind of put the pointy end down, so basically be a little bit perpendicular with the Q-tip and rub back and forth. Just realize that at some point, all of that soft cotton is going to be worn down after you're putting that pressure on the case. And what ends up happening is you're going to end up grinding this hard part of the Q-tip at the tip here into the resin case. And if you don't realize that you're doing that, you're going to end up actually wearing out the finish and the paint on the silver case, and you actually could blemish the silver case, even though it's very hard to do. I did this the first time on my own personal watch, so let me show you what that looks like. So you can see here at the top, it looks nice and even. But then if you go to the bottom here, okay, you can see I wasn't even able to get off all of that lettering. And then even here, this is no longer lettering. This is actually down almost to the base resin. I've almost removed the silver paint on top. And again, the problem here was I was moving this Q-tip back and forth way too hard, and I was grinding this hard part of the Q-tip into that resin and rubbing it off. So this was actually the first time I removed a label. So this was done months and months ago. Since then, my technique has definitely gotten better, as you can see in Carlos's watch here. Another way that you can remove the lettering to be a little bit softer is, rather than put it at a perpendicular angle, you can kind of rub it this way. So saturate the Q-tip again all the way to the top with Goo Gone, and then you can rub it in this fashion. And what ends up happening here is you actually get more of the soft surface area of the Q-tip working for you. So it actually makes you work a little bit more efficiently. The lettering comes off a little bit quicker, but also you reduce the chance of this hard part of the Q-tip going into that resin and rubbing off the case. So you can just kind of do it like this as well from the side. So what I do is I start with the tip, and then once I feel like it's getting too hard down to the hard part of the Q-tip, I switch to the side. And then if I see a lot of black lettering rubbing off on that side, I'll switch to a fresh side and rub that side in as well. Okay, so the key here is apply a firm amount of pressure, not too much. Take your time, keep your Q-tip tip well saturated, and use all sides, the tip and the sides of the Q-tip as well. Alright guys, that'll do it for today's video on removing the label from the Casio watches. I hope you guys learned something new. If you have any comments or maybe any other suggestions or tips for improvement, please also put them in the comments. But again, thanks for sticking with it and subscribing, and as always, have fun, and we'll see you guys on the next one.